Hi, Flosstube. It's Arlene here on Sunday, October 7th, and I think it's been 4 weeks or so since I last did a video. I didn't mean for it to be this long, but it's the way life goes. For those of you who tuned in to my last video and left comments or sent messages or in any way contacted me, just thank you all so much. I so appreciate the love and support of this community. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, just go back and watch my last video. I just shared some personal news of it's been a very rough summer. I know that in some ways that sometimes I think about when I'm recording a video, I'm thinking about the friends that I'm talking to, or the people that I watch who watch me back, or the people who comment that I'm just regulars. But I also know there's lots of other people who watch that maybe I don't have that regular contact with, or maybe someone who's just flying by, I pop up on their maybe you're interested in kind of list. And I know that happens to all of us who make videos, that we know some of the people who are watching and we don't know others. So it makes it a little funny when you share personal things, or to me it does. But I just want to say how wonderful the support of this community is, and that's an important piece. So welcome if you are new, and welcome back if you are not. Both groups mean an awful lot to me. I'm listening right now because one little update I will share. I shared in my last video how the reason the summer was rough, that first my mom and then my dad passed away within 2 months' time. One of the many things my sisters and I are dealing with and focusing on and going forward and working through. My parents had a dog that we all love. And we grew up as a family, we grew up always having a dog. This was a dog, Maddie, who is 14. But she was a dog of my parents' retirement years. We all love her. And for 3 different reasons, the 3 of us, we all have reasons why having a dog in our homes is not, none of us have a dog right now. There's reasons why we don't. And so we're all doing, we're still figuring our way in a lot of this, as you can imagine. Right now, Maddie's with me. We're doing a little bit of a shared custody, and I can hear her. I've shared in the past, I'm in a loft space. I film upstairs. This is my creative studio space. I film upstairs in a loft. Maddie has not liked being up here when I've brought her up here. She's 14, she's older, she doesn't do the stairs very well. I'll carry her up here. I've carried her up here a couple of times. I even brought her bed up here when I was working for a bit, and she was not happy. So I'm just keeping one ear, listening to her downstairs, but she seems to be settled and okay. So she's a Bichon, she's a little dog. I would be showing her to you guys if she had any interest in being up here with me, which she doesn't. But other than me being up here, she's been following me around. She's been with me for a week. She'll be with me another week or 2. It's one of the many things that you need to work through when things like this happen. So, but again, she's a dog that's loved, and it's just what you're presented with. I need to jump into the reason why you're all here, which is stitching and all the related things. I so enjoy the floss tubers that I watch and interact with and feel like I'm being with. For those of you that have come to see me in the past, I may not show or do what a lot of the other floss tubers do. I'll certainly share with you what I'm stitching, and then I have some other things to share with you today as well. So let me start with, really, I've only been stitching on one project in this month's time. There's been a lot of other things that have been filling my time, but stitching wise, it's only been one thing. This project that this is a design of my own, a gossamer lace and blackwork. If you didn't know, I design cross stitch as well as a few blackwork and canvas work patterns. So this is a piece that is based off of a lace tablecloth. I have a blackwork version of it as well as a cross stitch version in my Etsy store. And I'm working on stitching the blackwork version because I just love it. And I've unrolled my scroll bars so that you can see it, although it's large. So let me see if I can, here we go. So here is where, gosh, I can't get too close or else you can't even see. So down at the bottom is, right down there, that is the bottom. When I was, rolled up and tight and everything. I was down there at the bottom last night, and I'm going to fill in one side, then fill in the other side, and then I will flip the whole thing upside down and do the other side. I love the way it's turning out. It is 18 inches in diameter. It is on 40 count linen. It is in a color called Deep Denim from Silk Weaver. Using just B5200. I had a couple requests to try and get close to the camera to show the stitching, what it looks like. And so here's the best I can do, because I'm also trying to see what you can see. And like I said, it's just, I'm just loving this project. And it's not, I've never really been the kind of stitcher that wants to work on, different project every night or every few days or what have you. I even when it comes to a big project like this, I want to keep working on a big project like this. And I will always give myself permission to pick up something else. And truthfully, because of some designing things and some other things, there might need to be some little breaks of this coming up. And at the same time, I don't want those breaks because I want to keep working on this. So we're just going to see. But yeah. The color fabric is coming across pretty good there. I have a hard time when I'm doing Instagram pictures getting a decent color, but it's pretty good. And I just wanted to share also, for those who are interested on Instagram, oops. Dropping things here and there. Her name is, great, now I've lost it. Give me a second. On Instagram, Joy D Craft is stitching the cross stitch version of this, and I will show you her. And I tried to find, because I know I'd asked her in one of her posts about her fabric, and I know she responded, but I couldn't find which of her, I thought I checked all of them and I couldn't find it. One of her posts, she does say what size, what count and all that. It's a silk. She's doing full crosses in the cross stitch areas, and in what I refer to as the secondary spaces, one of the things I suggested in my pattern as a possibility, I mean, you could do a second color there, but the other option, which I did in a small bits of model, I just did a couple of motifs for models, is to do those areas with one strand as a tent stitch to give that effect, and that's what she's doing. So again, I don't know the size, like the count, and therefore what size it is. I'm doing 40 count over 2 threads, and that makes it an 18-inch diameter. So I don't know what hers is, but I'm looking forward to following her and enjoying seeing it. And again, the color fabric is awfully close to what I'm doing. I know it wasn't a silk weaver, but I don't remember what she said it was. So that's basically my stitching update for the entire month. I meant to see what it looked like in my last video, and I forgot to check, but that's okay. If you're really interested, you could go back. So I'll just share another little crafty thing that I have been doing. a year ago, I shared that I won't share the whole story, but I shared the story at the time of how I came to be making Halloween costumes for niece and nephew, and the evolution of how that has been over the lifetime, starting with the oldest nephew, who's now 14, and I don't do Halloween costumes for him and haven't for years, but the youngest two, who are 6 and 3 now, I've been doing theirs their whole lives. And so I'll just give you the quick update with that, because that is a project that I've been working on, and I have to admit, I have to like force myself to get these done, because it's not what I really want to be spending time with. I don't enjoy sitting in front of a sewing machine. It's just not my thing. I mean, I have a sewing machine. I have done projects on it. I enjoy needle and thread in hand. So they decided to go with superheroes this year, and my niece Abby, who is 6.5, she'll say, decided to go with Batgirl, and my nephew Brett, who is 3, with this being his first year of really expressing his own opinion, shall we say, is Spider-Man. Now, obviously, those are 2 costumes that you could go to a store or go online and just order them. And what is really sweet and means something to me is how much they, particularly Abby, expresses how much she wants me to make it for her. And so that alone, I mean, that she is wanting that creation, and as much as possible likes to participate in it. So, you know, we were over the summer, we had like done Google images of Batgirl, because there's a variety of ways you could do Batgirl, and she picked out exactly how she wanted it. So you would need to, I'll show you where it stands. You would need to look up pictures of, you know, Batgirl costumes for kids and find the one that is a dress, because the purple. So this is where it stands, right? And she wanted, there's one that shows a purple dress with a black skirt. She wanted a hood, so we have a hood. Cape, so it's the yellow gold inside with purple on the outside. I was just getting to this part, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do the stitch. I have to hand stitch this on, because I don't do this on my machine. It'd be awful. But, you know, I did some interfacing there. So there's going to be that on there. There's a yellow, like, belt thing that will go here. And I think some yellow that goes on the ends of the arms. And I'm pretty sure that'll be it for her. Spider-Man still has a way to go. The base of it, I'm just doing, the whole base I'm doing in blue. So there, it's like a jumpsuit kind of blue. And then I need to put like the red parts on top with black stripes. So that's, and then he doesn't do masks on his face. So we're doing it a hood version. And again, you could like Google images, Spider-Man costumes, and you will see like a little kid version that has a hood head. And that's what I'm modeling my version on. So it's like, you know, I found like a jumpsuit kind of pattern, but then I'm working off of that. For hers, I found like a hoodie sweatshirt pattern, made that top part, but then building off of it. So it's a combination of pattern and working on my own. And it's very much realizing that it's all wonky. I don't care about seams, and it's all wonky sewing, and that is what it is, because it's a Halloween costume, and it's appreciated and loved by these kids, and that's what means something to me. So I have to just, you know, let it, every, you know, little chunk of time that I spend working on one aspect or another, I just have to remind myself of those kinds of moments. So those are the hands-on crafty things to share with you. I have been trying to work on all kinds of other stuff. If you've been with me for a while, you know that, as I said before, stay with me here, people. So my design company is Works by ABC. ABC are my initials. And what am I getting ready to show you guys right now? This. So a little bit of Works by ABC news is what's next on my Flosstube list here. So my LNS is Needleworkers Delight in Metuchen, New Jersey, and I just wanted to share with you that they currently have a trunk show going on of my designs. So they have my models up there, as well as, patterns to be purchased. So the pieces that I have done that are framed, as well as a number of my smalls, which are down here. I am a designer that puts out designs without necessarily having the model stitched. You see it all. I mean, I know the traditional way is to certainly have a stitched model, and it's something that I'm working my way through. Is I'm trying to figure out directions to go with my needlework world, and wanting to get my name out there and wanting to encourage stitchers to try new things. I mean, there's some times where it's like, I don't want to pick a color for this pattern because I want every stitcher to do it their own way. And that's, and anyway, so the models that I do have are wonderful and great, but gosh, I don't want anyone to ever feel like they have to do it in this color or that color. And I hope every stitcher feels that way about every project, about every pattern, to encourage that creativity that we all love. The stretching of yourself in the creative world is when you have to take your creative side and then push yourself to do things that are not necessarily the easiest, and then you have this learning curve involved. And for me, one of the things I told myself I needed to do, I was going to get done this summer, didn't, but finally got myself going on it, was creating a website So I now have a Works by ABC website. The address can't be any easier. You can see it at the top there, worksbyabc.com. It's still a work in progress. It's a whip. It's a work in progress. Yes, you can spend money and have someone develop a fancy pants website, or the way I've approached it is in an organic way, trying to figure it out for myself. So there are some things that, there was a moment of satisfaction, yes, I figured that out. For example, when, here's a welcome basic information on the main page. But the point where I finally figured out how to get that drop-down menu to show, I was so pleased and so excited with myself. So, every time I go to work on something there, it's important for me to realize that it's like learning. It is absolutely learning something new and just realizing that one step at a time. But I got it to the point where I want to put it out there. I want you all to know about it. I hope you'll go visit it. Let me just share with you some basic things. This is not a place where this is not the vehicle for purchasing my patterns. I may in the future get to that point. I did, in my researching of how to do this, I do understand that having a website where people can purchase through, certainly making it all safe with credit card and transactions and everything, that's a whole nother level of learning. And just getting to this stage is enough. So all purchasing of my patterns still goes on through my Etsy store, which is one of the reasons why this, if I tapped on this, would take you to a direct link to my Etsy store. But so the website is just right now going to be a source of information, a place to just see all my designs, a place to direct people, a place where people doing Google searches for me could be directed, assuming I can get enough traffic going there. That's your job. Help get me some traffic going there. So you could go in the design section, and if you click on cross-stitch patterns, and my internet today has been really slow, but there it goes. And you can scroll down, you can see how slow it is, but in alphabetical order, which is what it says here. And again, there's another link to the Etsy store. And it's only loading really slow because of the internet in my home today, and I need to do something about it. But if I were in a better location right now, let me do this. Oh, that did not do anything for being able to see anything on the screen. You would be able, these images would be showing up, and they are pictures of all my patterns. So all the patterns are there, just pictures of them. Also on the site is a gallery. If you are someone that has stitched one of my designs and has it finished, please be in touch. I would love to feature pictures of your finished stitch pieces, particularly if you have done something different than the called for colors. Now, some of these I've shared in Flosstube videos. When you see different colors or different fabric, again, I knew this was going to be an issue. I was going to film this earlier, and I decided I'd wait and see if I could do anything about the internet improving, and it didn't. So you're just going to have to go check out my website yourself. Oh, these popped up. So I've shown these on a Flosstube video. These are my canvas work designs with a viewer, customer, who did some very different color choices of thread, which was awesome. One of the reasons, well, there are a number of reasons I wanted to get a website going, but certainly one reason was to start a blog. And the blog, we're going to see where this goes. But I'm kind of thinking that it's going to be a little bit of a combination of the stories I share here on Flosstube with the extension for those who might be interested in a little bit more of the background, as well as some of the stories that don't get shared here because of the time lag between Flosstubes. Like the little moment that, oh, I want to share that, and maybe I share a picture on Instagram, but there's a whole bigger story behind it. Or there isn't something visual to show on Instagram, but there's a couple of paragraphs I could write about it with something that sort of like illustrates it, just to throw a picture in there. So we'll see what the blog evolves to. I'm now writing, or the list of things I have ideas to write and what I've started writing are the kinds of things that I, as a stitcher, would be interested in reading. Are there some of you out there that would be interested in reading it? I hope so. So I have a few posts up. I wanted to make sure I had a few things up. I again, encourage you and hope you'll go. If you would like, if you click on any of the posts, actually, I believe it's on any page of the website. At the bottom, again, the images are loading so slowly because my internet is so bad today. You know what I had to do? I'm remembering this now. Oh, this is loading. My last Flosstube, I was having such a problem that day. I actually ran out of here, went down to the library to get it uploaded. I might have to do that when I'm done here. Okay, when you go, there we go. At the bottom of, I'm pretty sure it's literally any page. I don't even think you have to be on the blog pages, but certainly on the blog pages. It says follow blog via email. So if you wish, you don't even have to check to see, did she write a blog post today? You can enter your email address and get them sent to you. Now, just heads up, this is through WordPress, is the website I don't know what you call it. What WordPress needs you to do is to then go to your email. You'll get an email from them, and it's basically prove you're not a robot. So you need to go to your email and just respond, yes, I'm a human, this is my email address, yes, I did sign up to get that blog. But then, and I won't use your email for anything because I don't know how to use your email for anything. But if you're interested. So I am just excited to share that, oh look, now the images have shown up there. So it's just my opportunity to share some stories with you. I'm hoping to get some more images up to figure out some basic things like, why can't I get a header showing? Is driving me nuts, but I need to, it's one of my things on tomorrow's to-do list. The problem is so many things on the to-do list every day. But for those who are interested, I hope you'll go check out the website, see what's there, and follow me along on the blog and see where that goes, see what that evolves to over the next few weeks. And give me some feedback. Let me know if you're interested in what I've started to work on and write about, and if it is the kind of thing that you think you'd be interested in, or what kinds of things you'd be interested in reading about. I know blogs are not hugely popular these days. But I'm not, we'll see where this goes. Okay, the next thing on my list. This summer, I have been to a number of different book sales and used book sales in a number of different places. If you've been with me a while, you know it's one of the things I enjoy doing. It's like a treasure hunt. You never know what you're going to find. And I almost never look at like the fiction sections. I don't go to book sales looking for reading books. That's what a library is for me. But I'll start always with the if they have like a craft section, hobby section, whatever they call it, obviously that's where I start. I'll look in the art section. I'll look, I'll just poke around. You never know what you're going to find. I think there's been some times where I've shared a few finds over the past year or so. I realized in the last few videos they were kinds of things that I had written on the list and then kind of cut them out on the spot because the video was already going so long. But I did write down I wanted to share a few things with you today because I didn't have much stitching to show. So anyway, it's a point where I really do need to catch up. One thing that when I found this one, this was at the end of July. This was like meant like this needs to be in my hands kind of thing. Way back, I talked to you guys. I shared with you about Owen Jones, The Grammar of Ornament. I shared with you a thick copy of a book, a library book that I'd literally had out from the library like for over a year. I'd have it for 3 weeks, renew it 4 times or whatever the number is. Then I have to physically bring it back to the library, let it be there, and then I take it out again. Like I had that library copy. It is available online. It's out of print. It's available on multiple like archive.org and Gutenberg and those sites. But there's something about having the physical book. It has been a source of some of my designs. It will be a source that I continue to refer to. I got this copy of it. This is a copy that just has what's called the plates, the pictures. It doesn't have all the text. I picked this up. I showed this in a Flosstube for $4 at a used bookstore last spring sometime, and I was very happy to have my own copy of this. At some point also last spring, a friend of mine, not a stitcher, knew about my Etsy store, my designs, knew I always looked for inspiration, but I don't think even knew that I had used Grammar of Ornament as a design inspiration site, found this copy of it in a used bookstore and said, oh, I thought this would be the kind of thing you're interested in. Now, this is one of the newer versions of it. This version is copyright 2001. Now, one of the many reasons why I never bought my own used copy, online, was because despite whatever they used book site or like Amazon used books show, you never know what you're really going to get version-wise, because I could think I'm getting that thick library book version and I'm getting this version, and this version doesn't have the plates, the pictures laid out in this, like they have all the pictures, but they're not laid out in the full page format that the original one was. Like here, this is from the front cover, right? Look at that thing in the front cover. Can you see how, like, clearly it's from there, but it's not from there? Okay? But what this one does have is all the text, as well as sort of the commentary on the text that modern versions would give you. Not what Owen Jones wrote about it, but what modern scholars have written about. This is a great version to have. None of my libraries around here have it. I've seen versions, this and others like it, like in bookstores. So I loved that, so appreciated, loved that she got me this. And between having this version, the full plate pictures, and of course always having access to the online ones, I finally got to the point where I sort of permanently returned that copy to the library. Well, guess what I found this summer, people? Yeah, this is like, the book jacket is ever so slightly different, but it is the full plate, full size Owen Jones. It is the book that like my library has. Can you see that? $3. Was this meant to be in my hands or what? I didn't need it. Like, I knew that. I had, for any future designing that is going to be inspired by Owen Jones' Grammar of Ornament, and there's going to be, I know that. I don't need this. But I also don't need this to be forgotten about or going to someone who isn't going to appreciate it the way I am. I had to get it. I had to. Now I have it. An example why you always should look, if you go to a used book sale and there's a section just labeled like either miscellaneous or nonfiction because they just don't know where else to put it, always look in that section. This was, so see, it's like in a case cover. The Smithsonian Book of Books. You know, I had meant to look back, but I wasn't seriously going to look back at all my Flosstubes to see if I have talked about my interests in the book arts. I haven't been into this in a few years, but I'll put that on a topic for the future. What does book arts mean? What do I mean by that? But certainly I picked this up, took it out of its case. It's a bit of a history of books. You know, you start with like Gutenberg and all. Actually, no, it's before Gutenberg. No. Yeah, it's before the printing press. It's all of this. It is a beautiful book, people. Okay. Modern, relatively modern. Copyrighted this was 93, I think, when I was looking at it. Okay, but like even look at this image. Okay, this is a where does it say? Opposite. Carpet page. Intricate patterns and colorful interlaced birds from Lindisfarne Gospels, circa 698. Introduces the Gospel of St. John. Okay? So this is like some hand-created thing. Now, I'm not into reproducing religious things, okay? But geometrically, how appealing something like that is. Is it possible that something in here could inspire me and I could get off on a research tangent and be inspired to, yeah. What would you say if I told you that this book was marked $1 and this was at a library sale, and this one was down here local to me. This was at a library sale on the last day not the last day, but the day of the sale where all of these books were half price. And I got this for 50 cents. Go to book sales, people. You never know what you're going to find. Why was it marked $1? I don't know. I would have paid $5 for it easily. I mean, probably more. I don't know. I have some personal limits of how much I'm willing to spend, but anyway, something like that goes totally in the category of potential inspiration for all kinds of directions in the creative world for me, let alone sitting down and reading it as an interesting piece of reading. Have I started reading it yet? No, but I will. Okay. And then this book, which is going to lead into a whole nother topic, came from, actually, I'm pretty sure it was the same big book sale where I got the big Grammar of Ornament book. And this came from the, hobbies and crafts section. And, you look at the title, they're all lined up and you see the title. Oops. And it says Plain and Fancy. And obviously you could see this is a previous library copy. And so, I don't know. I think when I see something like that, I think there's a good chance it could be a quilt book. But whatever it was certainly enough for me to look carefully, and I'm so glad I did. American Women and Their Needlework, 1700 to 1850. Susan Burroughs Swan, a name that sounded vaguely familiar to me, illustrated with special needlework collection from the Winterthur Museum. I know I've mentioned Winterthur before, and I realize that could be a whole nother topic of on Flosstube, which I should do, and a little bit's going to come up right now. I feel like I had heard about this book. I have another book by Susan Swan, which actually is sitting downstairs. I forgot to bring it back up. But I knew I didn't have this book, but I felt like maybe I'd seen it at a library before. I wasn't sure. And again, I think it was like $2. Yeah, I was like, done. This was an easy. Now, this is an older book. This is from something like 78. I mean, it was an older book, but I was 77. But I was intrigued. Again, I think the reading of it is interesting, but a couple really interesting things came up. First of all, I need to talk about this because this will definitely be something that I think would be an interesting topic for future Flosstube. I wrote a little bit about this on a blog post, but I need to come back to it. I need to read more before I can really talk about it. So I think, you know, when I do a little paging through, where's the table of contents? Okay, table of contents. Golden years of needlework, the age of craftsmanship. Diversions for genteel ladies, the age of accomplishments. To make a house a home, the age of domesticity. Okay. I started reading the preface. And this was a woman who worked at the Winterthur Museum. She's still alive? Don't quote me on, I don't know. Okay. But she definitely an expert in her field, no doubt about that. Where am I? Okay, here we go. She began years ago, blah, blah. This book began years ago when I realized that needlework offered early American women their primary outlet for creative expression. I agree. Indeed, except for needlework, almost no tangible products made by the women of centuries past remain. It occurred to me that surviving needlework projects represent one of our few remaining links with one half of our ancestors. Good point. My study started with the objects. At the Henry Francis DuPont Winterthur Museum alone, there are more than 600 pieces of American needlework. I actually think they have way more now, and again, this book is from 1977. By arranging these and other pieces according to their techniques and dates, and by allowing for variations in individual abilities, I began to see a pattern in the development of the needlecrafts in America. Here we go. The finest work was done before 1785. Between 1785 and 1825, the work was proficient, but not as fine as that done earlier. And from 1825 to 1875, a marked deterioration in needlework skills became apparent. I thought that was really like a bold and interesting statement. Especially, now granted, I am way more familiar with things like schoolgirl samplers than the bigger topic of needlework. And she's focusing on all kinds of things in this book. You know, here's well, I'll turn to that page in a second, but like everything that involves needle and thread. It's not just schoolgirl samplers, okay? That's a pretty strong statement in terms of deterioration of skills. And I really need to read more, to explore more, to talk more about it, but I will. But I wanted to read that now to kind of point it out to you. I was doing a flip of the pictures before I was doing reading, and I did have this moment. I have to share this piece with you. I got to this picture. This right here. And I looked at that and I said, that looks so familiar. I'm going to read the caption. Again, it's this that I'm looking at. Mary Foote, either spelled F-O-O-T-E or F-O-O-T without the E, who lived in Colchester, Connecticut, created this darned bed rug, presumably for her marriage in 1778 to Nathaniel Otis. Mary started with a plain woven woolen ground and sewed her design in large blue darning stitches, pulling each stitch level and level and rather taut. She did not leave raised loops customarily found in bed rugs. She completely covered the white background in an even textured darning pattern. Mary's sister Elizabeth made a very similar rug now owned by the Connecticut Historical Society. A third one, probably by her sister Abigail, is at Historic Deerfield. And even before I got to that line, my brain said, I've seen this, but, and here's the interesting thing. So, the Connecticut Historical Society did a needlework exhibit, and luckily I left like brochures and stuff near because I wouldn't have remembered, from October 5th, 2010 to March 26, 2011. And I went to it, and I remember being so amazed by how large it was, how all-encompassing it was. There were embroidery, there were like schoolgirl samplers, there were embroideries, there were quilts, there was the huge range. I'll do a quick thing in the, so, but I purchased, I'm so glad I did, the catalog of that exhibit. And my brain said, I remember that blue piece from that Connecticut Historical Society exhibit. And sure enough, there it is. And it's not identical to the one in Winterthur, but I remembered it because it was one of my favorite pieces, despite the fact that there were there were a couple of others that stood out. Like this was a whole cloth quilt, which, you know, you'd have to be really close to see the amazing stitching. There was this hand embroidered dress, which was just stunning. It's really, you know, there was plenty of cross stitching. This, I remember that. Candle wicking bed cover. So hard to show this. I did a quick search. It seems like for a lot of money you could find a used copy of this book online, but maybe some of you could, I don't know, maybe you could find it in places. There was definitely like your traditional schoolgirl samplers. There was definitely some of those. But this was an amazing exhibit. Of course, now that I took this book out, have I found more inspiration here? Yes. Now, what's interesting to me is that only after I thought about it more and more, I realized I have seen this one, and I didn't pull this. Hold on. Hold that thought. I have seen so this is Elizabeth Foote. The one in Connecticut is Elizabeth's rug. And they call it a bed rug. It's not a rug. It's like a very thick blanket, something that goes on top of the bed. So this is, this one's Elizabeth's. The one at Winterthur is Mary's. And this was an exhibit I went to at Winterthur. Oh my gosh, I should do like a whole video, a whole Flosstube just about things at Winterthur. But you know what? I did see the Mary Foote one. And if I could almost sort of picture where in the exhibit space they had it. And it, to me, to my memory, it was not impressive. Or it didn't impress in my mind the way the Elizabeth one from Connecticut impressed me that many more years ago. And this one is from like 2000. I did the date thing. These two like were within the same within a year's time, and I don't think I made a connection between them at that time. That's what fascinates me. And yet, seeing this book, this picture now, 8 years later, I made a connection between the one and the Connecticut. I mean, that alone is an interesting, like, memory thing. There's this kind of stuff. So here's what happens. I spend $2 on a book at a used book sale. I get an interesting reading book for a topic that interests me. I get an interesting walk down memory lane. I get potentially inspiration from things that I'm seeing in here to turn into cross-stitch or other needlework patterns. It makes me take out this book, which turns me into reading more back on the things that were in here, and again, potentially interesting designs, researching and so on for designs from this book. I mean, this is what I love to do, guys. I love doing this kind of stuff. I need more hours in the day to pursue this kind of work. I wish I could do this all full time, you know, and just continually be inspired and produce things from what inspires me. Isn't that what we all want? So, oh, and just to share, just because I think this is an interesting little topic, there were Elizabeth and Mary, and this whole reference to a potentially third sister. They were married in a quadruple wedding. Contemplate that, people. The two the two Foote sisters, Elizabeth Foote and Mary Foote. Mary Foote married Nathaniel Otis. Nathaniel's sister, Sarah Otis, was also getting married. And then, Nathaniel's sister's, Sarah was getting married to Mary and Elizabeth's brother. And Sarah Otis had a sister, Hannah, who was getting married to another guy. 4 at the same time. This was in November 5th, 1778. That would have been a wedding to attend. And this is an image of the third rug that is possibly by Hannah Otis Kellogg. This one says, it doesn't say it's in historic Deerfield. I tried looking that up. I couldn't find any records that Deerfield has any of their collections online. And that's just an issue you just accept. There are some things that just don't have records online. You want everything to have access online, but there's some things out there that just don't. Okay. How am I doing? Ooh, 46 minutes. Yay. Okay. I did that because everyone has different lengths of floss tubes that work for them, and I know that, and here I am wasting more time talking about this, but there are times where I really want a short floss tube to watch. You know, if I'm making dinner, and there's some people who do short floss tubes, and they're like my perfect company while I'm making dinner, and then there's other people who do long floss tubes, and they're my perfect company while I'm stitching, or whatever. And if you watch me, you know I'm usually around an hour, so I'm switching over right now to talk about lace. So if you enjoy hearing me talk about lace, I hope you'll stay with me, and if not, that's fine. For those who haven't been with me for a while, and I think it's been a while since I've talked about lace, so another one of my passions is bobbin lace. Which is the way lace was made before machines made lace, and there's lots in the lace world that is just not known, but when I have shared in my Flosstube and on Instagram, it seems to be really enjoyed by folks. So I just so love it that I want to share with you. There's 2 parts to today's sharing. One is about an exhibit that is phenomenal and is really the first of its kind in the United States. If you live anywhere near New Jersey, I will hope that you get a chance to come see this. I am so fortunate and so lucky that this is like an hour and a half away from me. And I was there on opening day. I plan to go back at some point. I haven't scheduled this out yet, but at some point when I can just go and appreciate it, maybe when a friend is visiting or something. So there's an exhibit called Lace, Not Lace, Contemporary Fiber Art from Lace-Making Techniques. It is at the Hunterdon Art Museum in Hunterdon County in Clinton, New Jersey. It was curated by a woman that I know in the lace world. She did this phenomenal job. The first of its kind in the United States. There's never been anything like this. There have been things like this in Europe, in places where you get the traditional thinking of what lace is, but also an acknowledgement of what lace has become. But this woman, Devon Fine, who has all these contacts in the lace world, and a lot of it, not all, a lot. Some of it stems from the fact she works at the Textile Center, which has a name, at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So she's very familiar with all of the traditional old lace work. But she has all these connections with the new worlds as well. So at this exhibit, she has pulled together artists from literally around the world. There's a list of artists. and sharing, and I'm going to do like a quick flip through, lace, fiber art using lace techniques. This right here is a piece, well, I mean, I could look at it as it's shown in this picture right now and say, oh, I totally recognize how they did that in terms of the threads going back and forth, and I could almost reproduce that without, you know, needing a pattern. It looks so simple. But what if you learned that they actually created it out of fiber optic cable, and it's 5 feet by 5 feet? That's a pretty unique work of art. And it was made, can you see this picture? If you have seen me doing bobbin lace, which I'm going to do in a minute for you guys, she's doing it right there on the floor. This is how she doesn't have bobbins to hold her fiber optic cable. She just has them in like wound up bundles there. It is so cool. This is a Jane Atkinson, you know, here's an example of a lot of bobbins going on. She does a lot of, I've lost my train of thought. There's a number of amazing modern looking work coming from Czechoslovakia, that's not right, Czech Republic, excuse me. And so there's some artists from there. The Urchins, which are these giant outdoor installations. There were 2 of them that were brought there. Unfortunately, they're only there for the first 2 weeks, and today, the day I'm recording this, is the last day they're going to be there. So, too late to see them. Google image. They're these giant lace pieces that were created originally for an artistic event in like a juried exhibit in Singapore, and they're representing like sea urchins. They were also on exhibit in Australia. They had a couple of them there. Why are they only there for 2 weeks? You know, why anything? Money. But it's wonderful that they were there for 2 weeks. I put some pictures on my Instagram of them, excuse me. Again, just showing you this guy, as a man from South Africa. He's got, where is his name? Pierre Fouche? Google his name. You will see some stunning things that he has done with bobbin lace. I want to say almost all of them with black thread, but that may not be correct. This is hard for me to do upside down, people. Sorry. Oh my gosh. Veronica Irvine. She has this amazing connection with math. I originally met her, it's 2012, because I was at a math conference that was going on during the Olympics. That's I had to think for a second what Olympics it was, but Summer Olympics. I met her at a math conference. She was there. She was at a math conference presenting mathematical things about bobbin lace. Okay, lace techniques, lace things. She was using a computer program. What was I doing often during various academic sessions? Okay, I'm not making this up. I'd sit in the audience. I'd have a notebook and a pen, you know, to take notes as something popped up. And then most of the time I was tatting. Tatting, which I've shared a little bit here, is a very portable craft. I could do it sort of low down in my seat without anyone. You know, I was doing a pattern that I could repeat very easily. It was a way to keep my hands busy. She had seen me in other talks. We hadn't connected at that point. She started her talk by saying, thank you all for coming, kind of thing. You may not even know what bobbin lace is. I'm about to explain. It's one of the lace making techniques. Another one is tatting. I know there's someone sitting in the audience right now tatting. Had a great conversation with her. Since then, she has become this amazing artist, bridging that math and lace world. And she had, are there pictures? Oh, they don't have, I loved the way the finishing of her pieces. There were the huge range of what modern lace could be, like this phenomenal wire lace jewelry woman. And there were a couple of them. Here's another one. You look at a picture like this could very much look like a piece of torchon bobbin lace that I could pick out. Oh, there's a spider, there's a fan, you know, they're the things that I know. But if you saw it in person, what you needed to know is that all that blue is made up of strips of plastic bags. And it is 60 inches by 60 inches. And again, it's plastic bags. The artist lived near a laundromat or is that what it was? So she lived nearby a place that gave out everything using the blue plastic bags. And she just scoured the neighborhood and the garbage cans and everything and collected all the blue plastic bags and turned those plastic bags into strips and made this 5 feet by 5 feet. Oh my gosh, you know? So this catalog of the exhibit, you can probably Google around, find people who've posted pictures online. I've done some. There's some lace Facebook groups where people have posted pictures. You can purchase this catalog on Amazon. I mean, you could go to the museum and get a copy of it, and I don't think the museum will. I don't think they simply have the staff to mail things out, but I'm not sure about that. But you can buy it on Amazon. Lace Not Lace. It would also be under Devon's name. It's just super cool, people. So I wanted to make sure to share about that because that's been part of my world recently. And then I did want to share, because it's been a while, the lace project that I'm working on. And I'm even kind of moving things around right now because I'm going to try and share by actually working on it a little bit. Because when I've done this kind of thing in my videos before, I've gotten positive feedback. So I'm going to do it. Let me give you some background. I can't tell you which came first, so I'm holding up two things right now. Okay. Some years ago at a market selling event, it was an EGA related thing. There was a group selling off the stash of a deceased member, and there was a ton of Sudbury House wooden items, boxes and trays and things you'd put needlework of any kind in, and there were some clocks. And I bought this. I actually bought also like a smaller rectangular one, and I don't know for sure what I thought at the time, but I'm pretty sure I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool if I made a lace thing? It may be that I thought that because I already owned this book, although I'm not sure. This book, Buck's Point, is a type of lace. There's geometrical Buck's Point, and there is also floral Buck's Point. This image, again, there's the inspiration of lace and a clock. It's always bugged me because it's a 6-pointed design. And it was, in my mind, always like, gosh, if you're going to do that, get a 12-pointed design in there. Like make it clearly a 12-pointed design. Do you get what I'm saying? So this becomes one of these ideas that's just, back in the back of the head, some point, someday, a maybe. Okay. Fast forward this past June, I'm at a lace day event, looking at patterns. I very much keeping myself, I'm only buying this, and you know what happens when you look at things. I think I even showed this on a video. If I've talked about this before, just stick with me. I purchased this folder of patterns inside of here, and they're so well done. The patterns, the drawings, everything about it is so well done in terms of lace. All of these are in here, and there are either 2 or 3 that are 12-pointed designs. So I am working on this. It's a 12-pointed design. The size that I'm doing it specifically fits in that clock. I'm not doing these colors. I'm going to show you what I'm doing in a second. So I need to do a little switching around. Let's see how I'm going to do this here. So I'm turning you like this. I am, moving this pile of books off. And I'm bringing my lace pillow up. If you have not been with me for any videos where I've shared about my lace before, so I know there was one video I did, as well as some Instagram, where I was able to get up close because I'm just gonna do the easy, lazy thing and not not switch over to an iPad and a phone or whatever. I'm just doing this all straight on the computer. This is as good a view as you're going to get right now. You're not going to get the close-up. And I'll just say, I promise you, I'll do a close-up version on something else sometime soon. When you're working on, this is called a lace pillow. Doesn't quite look like the pillow you'd sleep on. And there's different kinds of pillows. This is called a cookie pillow when it's round and it's, slightly domed. Slightly, it's got a little bit of a, it helps a little bit with gravity kind of working down like this. The pattern is called the pricking, and it's right here. If I turn this off, that might be better. On this it's cardstock is right here. The pattern is printed right on here. Now I have a sheet that also has some guidelines for me. I mean, this is sort of like the equivalent of showing the pattern, guys, but we can handle this. And it's helped me a little bit in terms of remembering where I need to do what, but overall, I've got things going, so I'm good. What you can see here, at least I think you can see, these are all bobbins, and they are wound with thread. Let me just move some things aside. Here is the thread. I turned off the light because I thought maybe what I need to do is just move it. Well, I don't know what's going to be better here. The main thread that I'm using is the sulky thread that became quite all the rage on Flosstube about a year or so ago when it was, I forget what it was called, as it was being marketed to cross stitchers. And it was a 12-weight thread, and the marketing ploy or the marketing statement was that it was the equivalent of 2 strands of DMC. And many people kind of agreed that it didn't quite give the equivalent coverage, but that's what they said. This is that same thread. It's all cotton, but this is the 30 weight, which is to say it's finer than the 12 weight that some of you may be working with. But I loved the colors. The color, I think it was called periwinkle, but that may not be correct. I also needed I think it's showing up pretty clearly. You can see like a contrasting to show up with the points there. And I have basically an equivalent size thread, thickness of thread, which is just a Madeira thread. It is all cotton. And these threads are thicker than sewing threads. But, I mean, they're a little bit, they are thinner than like 1 strand of DMC. I meant to look up in the thread book, my thread book, to help give you guys like what size am I using. So which is to say, certainly not the finest thread I've ever used in bobbin lace, but not the thickest either. When you are doing bobbin lace, a lot of people look at this and say, oh my gosh, so many bobbins. How do you know what you're doing? Or how do you know which ones to use? Well, these holders help keep everything in place so that they don't like get all mixed up. That, this one is right next to this one, which is right next to this one, except for when it gets stuck on a pin like that, which is right next to this one. It keeps them in place. Now, that one just got out of place there. Okay. The darker thread one is for this little strip is called the worker, because it's going back and forth for this little area that I'm just going to show you. And for every little time, so here I am, I'm getting ready to bring in this pair. In bobbin lace, you always work in pairs. So I'm bringing in this pair. That movement that I just did is referred to as a cloth stitch in the US. In England, is it in Europe also, or is it just in England? It's referred to as a whole stitch. So sometimes the terminology can confuse people. But when I do this kind of movement, and don't tell me that I'm moving super fast, because boy, you should see some lace makers. Now, whoops, I went 1 pair too far, because this pair needs to stay out over here. So when I get to here, I take a pin. That's what this guy is. This is like a magnetic pin holder. I don't even bother with a pin cushion because that means putting them in. If you just have a magnetic pin holder, they just magnetically stick. This pair is now staying out. So just to slow down the movement to show you what I'm doing is with 2 pairs, you take the 2 center ones and you cross the left over right, and that movement is referred to as a cross. And then you take these 2 guys, the 2 right side of each pair, and you go from right to left. That movement is called a twist. And in the stitch I'm doing right now, you then do another cross. So you do cross, twist, cross. That is referred to as a cloth stitch. Cross, twist, cross. Cross, twist, cross. I'm going to bring in another pair here. Cross, twist, cross. And again, when I have shown this on Flosstubes before, or when I'm sharing with people in person, they'll say, "Oh my gosh, how can you do that? It goes so fast. I could never do that." Yes, you could. Especially if you are a stitcher, you can do anything that you are choosing to learn how to do. And what I always say is, especially if I'm talking to somebody in person, is that think about what you do with a pattern and your stitching. And think about what that appears to be to someone who has never stitched before. They see your pattern on a graph paper looking thing, and you have somehow translated that to be, and especially if the pattern is black and white, and you have somehow taken those little symbols and translated those to be colors, and then you've somehow put those colors in the exact same spots on this piece of fabric, and you've made it into this like design. I mean, it is that kind of statement or that kind of thinking that someone who has never seen cross stitch before, and in your brain you're thinking, I can cross stitch, I can make X's, and you think, why would they think you can't do it? That's the way I approach anyone who says bobbin lace is too complicated, bobbin lace seems so crazy to me, bobbin lace, how do you keep track? You can. Like anything else, it's not for everyone. Those of you who love to knit, I'm not a knitter. It's not for me. Everyone has the things that, for lack of better words, tickles their funny bone. And, without going into the whole psychological backgrounds of why it is that something like bobbin lace just kind of connected with me. Some of it is about the mathematical side. Some of it is about sort of figuring out the puzzle of, ooh, I need a thread there and I want that thread to go there. And obviously these weren't my first steps. My first steps were very much following what a teacher said and how to do it. But also it was about, I am learning something brand new and this is really cool. If that is your attitude when it comes to learning new things, you're going to learn whatever you're choosing to learn. And whether that's knitting or bobbin lace or cross stitch or needlepoint or, I don't know, wood carving or basketry or, pick whatever it is. There's so much joy to be gotten from things that we create with our hands. And chances are, if you're watching this Flosstube, I think you agree with that. Whatever it is that you're creating with your hands right now, whether it be cross stitch, knitting, I don't know, making dinner, whatever. The Flosstube watching community in general is a group of people who get joy from making things with their hands, and in general appreciate and don't mind at all the time it takes to make those things. And so however that happens for you, whether there is joy in discovering a new designer or joy in discovering a new art form like bobbin lace, go with it. The piece that I always feel so bad about is that it is not so easy when someone has watched me and says, I want to learn how, direct me, help me, If someone said to me, which has happened, I want to learn cross stitching, help me. Oh my gosh, not only could you help them with websites and tutorials and stuff, with a scrap of Ada and a skein or two of DMC for literally a few bucks, next to nothing. you could get somebody started. And bobbin lace is a little bit more complicated in terms of getting somebody started. It's one of the reasons why a lot of guilds, lace guilds, have starter pillows to lend to newbies if they want to try something, so they don't have to purchase, for a couple of months, try it out, take lessons, with if they have somebody who's willing to teach. So I wish there was an easy way for me to say, go order this from this website, go watch these videos, and boom, you can get started. The best I can offer is and which I've tried to do for some people, is looking up to see if there are lace guilds near you. And I mean, again, I can direct you to some websites, and there are some suggestions of how you can do things on your own. I don't know how well that would service people, but it all depends on how motivated you are to give this a try. I think that's going to be an hour, 10 minutes already. I think that's going to be as much as I'm going to do for today's lace making, but that was just doing a little lace today. So I'm just a little past the quarter mark, a little past 3 o'clock on my clock. It has a ways to go, and I haven't been spending that much time doing lace, working on Works by ABC stuff and the various forms that turns into, stitching when I can, dealing with a lot of the harder things in life. And so I just need to end by circling back to the way I started. The past month has been rough. Past summer has been rough. And I appreciate all your love and support. This community is just wonderful. Keep giving all that love to everyone. We all need it, and especially for when you don't even know when somebody needs it. Thank you for staying with me here. Thank you for visiting with me. I love and so appreciate the comments and the likes. Till next time. Bye.